Hey, so I want to make a final update to the mana stack and Sorc before going cast on crit and answer some questions, of course. So yeah, I've killed the pinnacle boss in this build now. Released a video yesterday, and this is pretty much my day 2 update as I just woke up. But yeah, so this is a static orb mainly build, and we're using Glacier for utility stuff as mana regen and ward on hit. So yeah, mainly for utility, also does some clear. Then you also have focus for mana. This is needed for bosses, not really needed for monoliths. Teleport, of course, and flame ward. So yeah, let's go with the build real quick. Mainly, it's just a standard mana stack and Sorc. These items are not optimized at all, but I do want to mention some very important pieces. So namely the jeweler rings. Jeweler rings with either spell damage or intelligence is a lot of damage to try to get it. I currently only have one ring. The chest is extremely important. You really want a mana slam on this, if not mana then intelligence. I don't have either, but yeah, with nothing, this chest is still very worth using as it gives a lot of mana. The mana range rolls 10 to 120, so only uses if it rolls high mana. If it rolls like 10 mana, it's just simply not worth it. So yeah, keep that in mind. Very, very strong chest. Amulet, only worth using if it has mana on it on the slam as well. If you don't have any LP on your strong mind, don't use it. Just use a regular like tier 6 or tier 7 exalted mana amulet. And the boots. Boots don't need any LP. They're very, very strong because of how much ward they give you. Essentially, you know, every time you're going to like move and stop, it's like a burst of like 1,000 ward. It's an insane amount of ward, 2-second cooldown. Yeah, it just happens all the time, every 2 seconds. It's massive for survivability. Outside of that, you need 1,000 mana to switch to this build. The reason why you need exactly 1,000 mana is for this Archmage passive. The values are tripled here if you have 1,000 mana, which guarantees the refund 20% of the mana cost of your spells. So very important. Until you get 1,000 mana, I would say just play the Glacier level 1 build from Maxwell. That's what I did. And at 1,000 mana, you switch to this variant, and you're chilling. Yeah, once again, this build's very high damage. I'll quickly show a 400 corruption shade kill. It should be about like 2 or 3 seconds. I just pre-cast some glaciers and then just cast static orb. So yeah, that was, I don't know, maybe 2 seconds, maybe 2.5. So yeah, that's the build's damage. It's extraordinary high. As you can see, my tooltip with no buffs is 300 can static orb. And every mana you get, every mana point, adds a ton of damage to this. And I'm still missing like 300 mana from being min-max, right? So yeah. Also want to mention, the reason why I'm not cast on crit, for those that are wondering, is because apparently there may be a bug or there may have been a nerf that wasn't mentioned where we now need more mana to play the cast on crit meteor version. So Chunky, the person who originally made the build, did make an update and say 1.9k mana is where you start going mana neutral with this particular setup and his style of play. Before this, you can either run single meteor cock or just damage glacier, or a version like mine. Before the patch hit, you actually didn't need 1900 mana, so something changed. Like I said, there might have been a bug or maybe a hidden nerf, but yeah, unfortunately, you just need more mana to play the cast on crit setup now. But it's not a big deal because this build is really overpowered. The damage is absurdly high, and I still have so much scaling to get. Like with more gear, I wouldn't be surprised if this build can easily kill 1,000 corruption shades in 3 seconds as well. I'm pretty confident it actually can. So yeah, I don't mind playing this build as it's very, very, very strong, as you can see from this kill, and it's also pinnacle boss viable. So I think that's about it. Blessings and all that, it'll be in the video description. And the gear you do want for min-max is actually the same as the cast on crit build. Everything besides the Harbinger of Stars, if you want to play this build instead of cast on crit, I think you want to use Strand of Souls. The only reason why I'm not using Strand of Souls is because mine's a really bad roll. Because this gives a ton of ward, you know, up to 180% of mana spent gained as ward. It's a very, very strong belt. 1 LP or 2 LP is very strong as well. So yeah, I think that's the ideal build. You want exactly all these items right here, except the belt. You'll just use Strand of Souls because it's essentially the same build. It's just mana stacking. So I'll link these both builds down below. This is my current character, and keep in mind it's just very unoptimized. And one thing to mention as well, the +2 static orb is absolutely massive for damage. If you don't have +2 static orbs, you take out these 2 points. But yeah, the +2 static orb is something like 50 to 60% more damage. So do try to get on your helm ASAP. And it's very, very important to have mana on every single piece you can. So yeah, that's about it. That's the whole update. And that's probably the last update on this version of the character. If I do make one more update, it'll be on the cast on crit version. But yeah, this is a very, very strong build, extremely high damage. You know,